There's no question. This isn't a tournament sport. In this sport, you make this a tournament sport. It's just like who's not hurt, who's the last person standing. This is high level of competition once you get to that stage, and the total. And these guys, and again, this isn't pro football. These guys have aspirations to play pro football, and so now you keep going, you keep adding, and with NIL and all that, some of these guys, they're not going to play. Yeah, talked to him at there. We flew in same time yesterday, so we actually got a car. It's fine. It's totally fine. We've been on the phone together, conference calls together, we committee together, talked to him a bunch of times. I have no issue with him. Say that one more time. We're just better up front in the offensive line. We've developed well and we've recruited well. We've got some new pieces there, and that's probably the biggest thing. And then getting our guys back healthy in the defensive line, getting Xavier Thomas where he is, Justin Foster coming back. That's probably the biggest thing.
Dabo, obviously the news of Bobby Bowden. Thoughts on what Bowden's meant to the game of football?
I couldn't even begin to do it justice to speak what he's meant to the game of football and to so many men's lives now, but young people and coaches, and just no telling how many people that he never met who he influenced in a very positive way. And I'm fortunate that I got a chance to meet him and know him well and intimately well, and I've known for a couple weeks what was going on, and so many great memories of him. But for me, he was the model. Was such a great example of, not losing sight of the main thing. A man of faith, a great husband, a great father. He loved his community. He was loyal. He was committed. He loved his players, and he was funny. He had a grace to him. He was tough, and the model of consistency. I mean, the absolute model of consistency. But he is a special human being, and I sat in my office with him. I guess it was 2 seasons ago, 19, and we probably had about an hour in my office together, just the two of us. He came in. He did our chapel. He's 90 years old, and just the conversation was just fascinating. And everything from letters he's written me to all the way back to being an interim and him calling me when all that went down to let me know, hey, the Bowdens you have the Bowdens' full support. And then 3 weeks later, he smashed me down there in Tallahassee. But to come into my first ACC coaches meetings in Amelia Island in May, and I'll never forget my very first meeting. I'm like, you're talking about Jim Grove and Grow and Paul Johnson and Cutcliffe and Freegan and Beamer and all these guys, and here I come, Bobby Bowden. I walk in, I'm just like, that's Bobby Bowden, and I just fascinated sitting in the room with him. And there's some people that you may really think a lot of or like. I know I experienced this as a player. Like you like so much respect for somebody, then you go on the other side and you go, oh no, that guy's a jerk, or that guy's this and that. And so sometimes people can let you down when you maybe get to know him in a different way. And I had this perception of him, and all I can say is when I got to know him kind of behind the curtain, if you will, he was even better than what I could have imagined as far as just his genuineness, his kindness, smart man. He's hilarious. Used to crack me up. I'll never forget it. So coming there, I've got my notebook. I got notes. I'm ready. I'm ready to solve all the world's problems and be a part of this, coaches fraternity here. And I'll never forget it. I go in there and he's sitting over there. He's got his feet kicked back and he's got a USA Today. And we're in these deep depth conversations. He's only done this, 40 years at this point or whatever. He's heard it all. And we're in these deep conversations. Whatever the topic of the day was, and he's just He's just flipping through the USA Today because you got to be there, you know. And every now and then he'd go, "Boys, I don't think we want to do that." Flip back through the thing. He'd say, "You know, we're talking about bowl games." And then eventually he would take it and he'd just put it on his chest and he'd just take a nap. And nobody'd say a word. Nobody. I mean, what are you going to do? Like, nobody would say a word. He'd just sit over there, and then you not think he's listening. And, man, we're in this conversation. I think it was a year about the Sun Bowl. Should we add the Sun Bowl? Should we this and that? And he's kind of over there. And then all of a sudden it gets to this conversation. We're going back and forth. And he goes, "Well, boys, y'all going to be doing this a lot longer than me. But y'all want the Sun Bowl." He said, "That's a great bowl right there. That's a great trip. That's this." And he goes through the thing, and it's over. You know, and so, I mean, he was just the best and such a respected guy. And you know, when he says he's at peace, like, he means that. And, I mean, I think he told Tommy and Terry that, you know, hey, y'all want to plan a big funeral, you can do that, but I ain't going to be there. And, you know, I think that was his message, like, I ain't going to be there. So he just has an unbelievable perspective, and he's just been a great example to me and so many people. And, you know, whenever that time comes, when the good Lord calls him home, he'll be ready.
Coach, working with another legend, the Bear Bryant Awards out of Houston, I know it's an honor you received 3 times. I'm just wondering, if I take you back to your Alabama days, how important a figure was Coach Bryant for you?
Coach Bryant was my hero. I mean, he was truly my hero. You know, my dream was to play for Coach Bryant, and I remember 8th grade walking out of Miss Stanford's class, and there was a buzz in the hall. You didn't know what it was. You know, in those days you didn't know. And there was this, you just chit chat, and next thing you know, I find out that Coach Bryant had died, and I'm like, what? I mean, I'm devastated, you know, because I'm going to go and I'm going to play for Coach Bryant, and now that's not going to happen. And it was one of the, you know, there's just things that happen in our life we all experience that you just can snap your fingers and just take yourself right back to that moment, right? Whether it's a tragic event or somebody close to you or whatever, and that's one of those days for me growing up in that state. I mean, it's you know, it's a passion there, and I just remember it. And I remember the funeral. I remember crying. I remember going home, and I'm just like, man, I just can't believe it. I remember his last game there in Memphis, and I remember the parade from Tuscaloosa to Elmwood. My dad's buried in Elmwood, where Coach Bryant is, and my grandfather and my grandmother, they're all buried there in Elmwood Cemetery, right there in Birmingham, and the parade to, or the, I don't know if it's a parade, the procession to Elmwood Cemetery. The whole state shut down, you know, and it was just, and this is before obviously social media and all this stuff, but I mean, it was like felt all over the country, but in the state of Alabama, I mean, it was a deep mourning to lose this great man, and then I go to Alabama, and you know, it's, you know, you Paul Bryant Drive, Paul Bryant Stadium, Paul Bryant Museum, I mean, you know, you name it, and so. That's one of the reasons I always cherished having the opportunity to play for Coach Stallings, and not just play for him, but all 7 years of his career I was playing and coaching for Gene Stallings, because you know Gene Stallings, he only had 2 bosses in his entire life. He worked for Tom Landry and Bear Bryant, and he was a Junction boy, and Coach Bryant loved Gene Stallings, and so I never got to meet Coach Bryant. Ever, you know, and I didn't get to go to a lot of games. There was many times we went down to Legion Field and stood outside and listened to the roar of the crowd and watched it on TV or whatever, but I never got to meet Coach Bryant, but I always say I felt like I did because of my 7 years with Coach Stallings, because, you know, the stories, you know, it was powerful, and I'm forever thankful for that, and I feel like the good Lord blessed me with that. The crazy thing is I did meet Frank Howard when I was 10 years old. You know, that's a whole nother story. But they were great friends, Frank Howard and Bear Bryant, and I probably know way too much about both of them and their time together. But You know, he was an amazing man, and his influence lives to this day. I mean, you go to the Bryant Museum, and you just can't, even if you weren't born then, you know, you just walk in there and you just can sense his presence and what he meant to so many people, even to this day. So it's a really cool thing to have in my mind.
Time for two more.
Matchup. Your starting quarterbacks from California, their starting quarterbacks from California. Alabama plays that same weekend. They have one from California. Miami's got a backup from there. How the dynamics of college football have changed, where all of a sudden you get a bunch of Southern California kids and a little quadrant here in the Southeast.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it says we've got good football going on around here, and these kids want to come and be a part of it. You know, football is a deep passion in this area. There's not a lot of distractions around here. You know, there's no pro sports in Alabama. There's no pro sports in South Carolina. You know, it's college football is huge, and you know, in Georgia, I mean, it's, you know, high school football, college football. You know, same thing in the state of Florida, man. It's just a very intense area, and these kids, you know, they've come to be a part of great programs and to compete at the highest level. So that's a nice side story going into this game. It's kind of interesting. These two guys, you know each other and have competed against each other, and now they get a chance to do it on this stage.
Final one here.
Into where we're going, right?
Say that again.
For the power schools in the Southeast with that passion, like you said, name, image, and likeness, could this be a little window into maybe where we're going in the sport, where that draw, that passion?
I think the name, image, likeness stuff is open for everybody. I mean, if a kid's a great player, you know, his name, image, likeness opportunity isn't going to change, in my opinion, wherever he goes. I mean, certainly they want to go to a great program. I think we're like the #1 social media program out there, little old Clemson. You know, so you know that's a instant stage and population that you're a part of. But I think at the end of the day, if you're a good player, you know, there's a lot of opportunity out there.
You just refer your program to little old Clemson? Seriously?
Well, I think we only got about 150,000 alumni living. That's pretty little compared to most places, and I think we're about 22nd in budgets, and you know, so, and I think we've got the biggest stadium per capita in the smallest town. So, I mean, we're a big old program in a little old town.
All right, thank you, everybody. We're going to close up. Thank you.